Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Baumgardner, Cook, Coram, Court, Crowder, Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Garcia, Gardner, Guzman, Hill, Holbert, John, Jones, Jones,
Absent.
Kagan, Cafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez-Humenic, Merrifield, Moreno, Neville, Priola, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Tate, Todd, Williams, Zinzinger, Jones. Mr. President,
Here. The 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Williams, will you come lead us in the pledge, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Members and guests, please join us in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of Wednesday, February 28th, 2018, and that it be approved as corrected by our most outstanding Secretary of the Senate and her excellent staff.
Senator Scott, do you have a substitute motion for approving the journal from February 29th? Senator Scott?
Good morning, Mr. President. I'm working on this calendar issue as we speak. My substitute motion would be that we still work on February 29th schedule and calendar today. Thank you.
That motion is out of order. You've heard the proper motion. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion is adopted. Committee reports.
February 28, 2018, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy. After consideration of mayor's committee articles as follows. Senate Bill 176 be referred to committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 28, 2018, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy. After consideration of the mayor's committee articles as follows. Senate Bill 170 be amended as follows. As so amended be referred to committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation. February 28, 2018, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy. After consideration of the mayor's committee articles as follows. Senate Bill 172 be amended as follows. As so amended be referred to committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation. February 28, 2018, Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration of the mayor's committee articles as following. House Bill 1091 be referred to committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation. Recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 26, 2018, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration of the mayor's committee articles as following. House Bill 1068 be postponed indefinitely. February 28, 2018, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration of the mayor's committee articles as following. Senate Bill 175 be amended as follows. As so amended be referred to committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation. February 28, 2018, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration of the mayor's committee articles as following. Senate Bill 171 be amended as follows. As so amended be referred to committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation. February 28, 2018, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration of the mayor's committee articles as following. Senate Bill 145 be amended as follows. As so amended be referred to committee on Appropriations with a favorable recommendation. February 28, 2018, the Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs decided on consideration had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar confirmed. Members of the Colorado Channel Authority Board of Directors for a term expiring October 6, 2019, Bart Warren Miller of Centennial, Colorado, and unaffiliated, serve as a representative with experience in the business operations of broadcast journalism, occasioned by the resignation of Scott Allen Nitre of Highlands Ranch, Colorado, appointed February 28, 2018. The Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs decided on consideration had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar confirmed. Member of the Colorado Channel Authority Board of Directors for a term expiring October 6, 2019, Megan Elise Georgemeyer of Denver, Colorado, a Democrat who has experience in the business operations of broadcast journalism, occasioned by the resignation of Timothy Michael Ryan of Aurora, Colorado, appointed February 28, 2018, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of mayor's committee articles following. House Bill 1033 be postponed indefinitely. February 28, 2018, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of mayor's committee articles following. House Bill 1038 be postponed indefinitely. February 28, 2018, the Committee on Judiciary has had on consideration had hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the State Board of Parole for a term expiring July 1st, 2020, Alfredo Enrique Peña of Denver, Colorado, to serve as a citizen representative, reappointed. February 28, 2018, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of Mayor's Committee as following: Senate Bill 169 be referred to Committee of the Whole. The February recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 28, 2018, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of Mayor's Committee as following: Senate Bill 123 be referred to Committee of the Whole. The February recommendation. February 28, 2018, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of Mayor's Committee as following: Senate Bill 56 be amended as follows: as to amended, be referred to Committee on Finance with a favorable recommendation. February 28, 2018, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of Mayor's Committee as following: House Bill 1142 be referred to Committee of the Whole. The February recommendation placed on the consent calendar. February 28, 2018, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of Mayor's Committee as following: House Bill 1141 be referred to Committee of the Whole. The February recommendation placed on the consent calendar.
Senate Services.
Correctly engrossed, Senate Joint Resolution 6, correctly re-revised, House Bill 1048.
Message from the House.
The House has adopted and returns herewith Senate Joint Resolution 6.
Introduction of resolutions.
Senate Joint Resolution 7 by Senators Zinzinger and Lambert and Representatives Carver and Pedersen concerning the designation of March 2nd, 2018 as National Speech and Debate Education Day in Colorado.
Mr. Majority Leader Holbrook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay over SJR 7 one day under the rules.
Question before us is to lay over Senate Joint Resolution 7 under the rules. Is there any objection? Seeing none. Senate Joint Resolution 7 will lay over. Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 184 by Senator Corman, Representatives McKean and Escar concerning a new permit for short-term extraction of construction materials.
Well, since I'm here, let's assign that to Ag, Natural Resources, and Energy. Third reading of bills. Final passage.
Senate Bill 62 by Senator Moreno and Representative Melton concerning liability limits and snow and ice removal contracts.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 62 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Motion before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 62. Are there any no votes? Senator Holbert. Senator Crowder. Senator Lambert. Senator Gardner. Senator Tate. Senator Smallwood. Senator Aguilar. Senator John. Senator Marble. With 26 ayes, 9 noes. Senator Aguilar.
I apologize, Mr. President. I'd like to be a yes vote.
Senator Aguilar will be recorded as a yes vote. I am still on no votes. Senate Bill 62. With 27 ayes, 8 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 62 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Aguilar, surprise. Senator Priola. Second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We will indeed resolve ourselves into second reading of bill, consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee will come to order. The court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read all the titles to the bills on this general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar?
House Bill 1087 by Representative Thurlow and Senators Kagan and Quorum concerning Department of Public Safety authority to repeal rules relating to defunct boards. House Bill 1028 by Representatives Kraft, Tharp, and Wist and Senators Court and Tate concerning clarification of the standard required for applications for a court order to require compliance with investigations of deceptive trade practices. House Bill 1140 by Representative McKean and Senator Moreno concerning public official personal surety bonds and in connection therewith. repealing obsolete provisions and authorizing the purchase of insurance in lieu of public official personal surety bonds. Senate Bill 173 by Senator Gardner and Representative Harrod concerning the ability of certain establishments licensed to sell alcohol beverages for on-premise consumption that serve food to allow a customer to remove one open container or partially consumed venous liquor from the licensed premise. House Bill 1096 by Representative Gray and Senator Priola concerning the eligibility of certain entities to apply for a special event permit to sell alcohol beverages. Senate Bill 74 by Senator Todd and Representative Hansen concerning adding individuals with Prader-Willi syndrome to the list of persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities who are mandatorily eligible for services and supports. Senate Bill 68 by Senator Cook and Representative Van Winkle concerning criminalizing false reports. House Bill 1101 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning modification of the manner in which gross retail marijuana tax revenue that is transferred from the general fund to the state public school fund as required by current law is appropriated from the state public school fund. House Bill 1100 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning the continuous appropriation of money in the educator licensure cash fund.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move all the bills listed on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar consisting of House Bills 1087 and 1028 along with the Judiciary Committee report, House Bill 1140 and the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee report, Senate Bill 173, House Bill 1096, Senate Bill 74 and the Human Resources Committee report, Senate Bill 68 and the Appropriations Committee report, House Bills 1101 and 1100.
Is there any discussion on the committee reports to the general order second reading of bills consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of the committee reports. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of all the bills on general order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. And the second reading of bill consent calendar is adopted. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion for the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
Senate will come to order. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs lead reports that on consideration of the following tax bills being the second reading thereof makes following recommendations are one Senate Bill 173, Senate Bill 74 is amended, Senate Bill 68 is amended, passed the second reading order and gross placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1087, House Bill 1028 is amended, House Bill 1140 is amended, House Bill 1096, House Bill 1101, House Bill 1100 passed the second reading order revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Question before us is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. All those in favor signify by saying, I got to do, are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the report is adopted. Senate Bill 173, Senate Bill 74 as amended, Senate Bill 68 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1087, House Bill 1028 is amended, House Bill 1140 is amended, House Bill 1096, House Bill 1101, and House Bill 1100 passed on second reading, ordered, revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Second reading of bills, general order. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the general orders, second reading of bills calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We will again resolve ourselves in the Committee of the Whole.
You want to go ahead and introduce where I'll just take
My calendar up here.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee will come to order. The court rule is relaxed. Senate Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over Senate Bill 97 to the end of the calendar, end of the second reading of bills calendar. Senate Bill 97.
Motion for the body is to move Senate Bill 97 to the bottom of the consent, or to the bottom of the second reading calendar, behind 070. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. And Senate Bill 97 will be laid over to the end of the second reading of bills. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to House Bill 1086.
House Bill 1086 by Representatives Buckner and Lundeen and Senators Neville and Aguilar concerning allowing community colleges to offer a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We move House Bill 1086 and ask for a favorable vote.
There is a an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read L022?
Amendment L022 by Senator Neville. Amend re-engross bill, page
Senator
2.
Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, L022, we've had a lot of discussion on this bill, and we've definitely had a lot of input from different stakeholders. L022 is a focus, an addition to the bill that will allow the board to provide such information to the Colorado Commission on Higher Education and also solicit the Commission's input in a joint meeting of the board and the Commission. This was a request from CCHE and other stakeholders.
Senator Neville, would you please move
Sorry, I move L022 and ask for a favorable vote.
Any further discussion on L022? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of L022. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and L022 is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read L024?
Amendment L024 to House Bill.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, L024 is also more input that we got to identify some clarifying language and legislative intent within the bill to clarify what the actual mission is concerning the specificities of the 2-year and 4-year program at community colleges.
Senator Neville, please move L024.
I move L024 and ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Is there any further Senator Beth Huminick, or Martinez Huminick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could we have a senatorial 5 to look at this because it's different from an amendment that I had seen before?
Certainly. The Senate will stand for senatorial 5. Senate will come back to order. Senator Martinez Huminick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the senatorial 5. We just needed to clarify the new language in this new amendment, and we're fine with that, so thank you.
Any further discussion on L024? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Amendment L024. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and L024 is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read L021?
Amendment L021, House Bill 1086 by Senator Martinez Huminick, amend re-engross bill, page 2, line 2 after 5, insert and 6, page 3 after line 2.
Senator Martinez Huminick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, what L021 does is it amends the re-engross bill on page 2, line 2, after parenthesis 5, and inserts a paren 6, and then it amends page 3 after line 2, and inserts under paren 6, a community college that has received approval pursuant to subsection 5 of this section to offer a Bachelor of Science in Nursing as a completion degree shall not offer online courses as part of such degree until at least 5 academic years after receiving approval. And this is to make sure that the program is actually working the way it's supposed to.
Senator Martinez Huminick, please move the amendment.
apologize, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L021.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, unfortunately, I don't look at this as a friendly amendment, and I would urge a no vote. One of the things that we're trying to do, the key focus on House Bill 1086, is to address a nursing shortage, a nursing crisis that many of our providers are seeing. And so we're working with the community colleges to allow for a better career track and a faster career track for those folks. Many times this does include, at some point, the utilization of online education. It makes sense. We're all about career, workforce development, and everything else here, and this would actually slow down the opportunities that nurses have that are trying to go from a 2-year to 4-year degree program, and I would urge a no vote.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I also urge a no vote. Colleagues, I actually met a woman who came to interview me who was doing her entire course online from Regis, and she lives in California. So I'm not sure why we would give our community colleges a different standard than our private colleges have, and I'd ask for a no vote.
Senator Martinez-Shiminik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, we are actually, this bill is actually changing or attempting to change how the community college offers programs for 4 years. And there is no guarantee that the students that go through this program, just like the students at any of our 4-year institutions, are going to go into the rural areas, are going to stay in Colorado to help us meet the nursing shortage. There's no guarantee. So this is just to allow people at the colleges, the community colleges who choose to do this, that have the facilities to be able to do this, and can afford to hire the PhDs that need to teach these programs and still keep the community college tuition down, which is already been told to me that that's probably not going to be the case. They're going to have to raise tuition to be able to pay these PhDs that are going to be coming in to teach with this 4-year nursing program. So this is just a guardrail put into place, and so I would urge an aye vote on L021.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Senator Cook. I rise in opposition to L021. We are about trying to open up pathways, open up opportunities, and this is just one more tool in the toolbox. We've seen this work for 4 years, for 2 years, for students that are being homeschooled, for students that are being in a transitional period of their lives, that we've seen online be very effective and very proficient for being able to accomplish the ultimate goal. So again, I would urge a no vote on L021. Thank you.
Thank you, the good senator from Aurora. Is there any other discussion on L021? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of L021. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. The noes have it, and L021 is lost. There's an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read L023?
Amendment L023 to House Bill 1086 by Senator Priola. Amend, re-engross bill.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L023.
To the amendment.
Members, first, it's important for you to take a look at the article that should be on all your desks about Florida and their legislation that is similar to this that was passed, I believe, in '09. And specifically on the back, I want to highlight about quarter way down the page, starting with today. Today, there are about 350 nursing programs in the state, double the number there were before the rules were relaxed. And I want to underline that. Rules were relaxed because, in my opinion, that's what House Bill 1086 does. In that time, the number of nursing students climbed by 54%. But too many students are failing the licensing exams and the demand for nurses increases. That is my fear with this bill. 1086 waters down the standards under the guise of trying to increase the number of folks going into nursing. My understanding is there isn't a constraint on the capacity. It's more along the lines of folks who want to go through the rigorous regime that already exists are simply not opting to do that. So with that, L023 simply states, beginning with the first class of students graduating with a bachelor's degree of science and nursing degree as a completion degree from the community college program that was approved pursuant to section 5-A of this section, if more than 70% of such students do not pass the state board examination for nursing, the Colorado Commission of Higher Education shall revoke the community college authority to continue to offer a bachelor's degree of science degree in nursing as a completion degree. This amendment is about accountability. If community colleges can do this and pass and have students pass the exam at more than 30%, this amendment, if adopted, will never be triggered. With that, I ask for an aye vote on this accountability amendment, L023.
Any further discussion on L023? Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I rise in opposition to this amendment. Let me tell you that we know that right now the community college system graduates actually achieve comparable, and in some cases they exceed the pass rate of four-year institutions on the National Council Licensure Exam, or NCLEX. And so if you want to make this a policy in general for all our universities, including our four-year universities, that would be fine with me. But I find the insinuation here that somehow the students who graduate from our community colleges are less capable than students who graduate from four-year colleges quite insulting, and I would ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I too rise in opposition for this amendment L023, because what it does, it creates a double standard. All nursing students, after completing their program, have to take an assessment, and that assessment will give them their licensure. So just to say that you have a percentage of students that do not pass their licensure, they should be revoked from the opportunity to provide this curriculum, just doesn't make sense. We don't have that kind of standard for any other school based on a student being able to complete the exam. So to create a double standard for community colleges is just a discriminatory practice. If we do it for one, we need to do it for all. And right now, the state of Colorado does have a shortage when it comes to nursing. And I think this is one real solution that will help us address that problem. So vote no on this amendment.
Senator Priol.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I want to come up and defend 023. Basically, this bill is allowing community colleges to be four-year institutions, which I'm pretty confident have a more than 30% pass rate on the exams that are required to become a nurse. So if you want to play with the big boys, you ought to be held to the same accountability with the big boys. Amendment 223 is a good amendment.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, this isn't about any kind of equity. This is about a game of who moved my cheese, and we actually have some of the universities and frankly, some of the for-profit universities, which is always amazing to me, why they get involved with what we do with public schools when we spend, actually personally, I spend a lot of time protecting them from being told what to do. So I'm a little personally frustrated on this. But this isn't about equity. This is about saying that our community colleges, and the people that go to the community colleges, they're just not the same caliber. They're not the same caliber. And we have a lot of challenges out there, and we have the ability to actually provide good degrees and good career paths for nurses. We've seen, the good senator from Denver has already stated the numbers and actually told you that we actually have people that rise above and beyond from, oh my gosh, community colleges. Imagine that. As an individual personally who went to what we called then a junior college, and then finally finished up at another college, I find this insulting and join my colleagues to urge a no vote.
Senator Todd.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, and I think one of the things I want to really emphasize is we're talking same coursework, same credentialing, same clinical, same testing, just in a different venue. What's wrong with that, other than it's affordable and accessible? I urge a no vote on L023. Thank you.
Any further discussion on L023? All those in favor of L023, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. Noes have it, and L023 is lost. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 18? Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members, for your patience with this process. And I want to thank everyone who has worked so hard to get everyone to agreement, the work that the universities have done to work something out with this bill, that they're willing to support it, and the Commission on Higher Education. I think at the end of the day, what you need to remember is there are a lot of students in our community colleges who really can't afford to go to four-year university, and in many cases are working already as nurses, but because of the increasing requirements of the Joint Commission and other hospital accreditation bodies, they're needing to get this degree so they can continue to do the good work that they're already doing. We heard from nurses in committee who said that they actually wanted to go and get their BSN, but they really could not afford it, could not leave their community to do it, and this bill would allow them to stay in their community, continue their jobs, and get the education that they need, and I would ask for your support.
There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L025?
Amendment L025 to House Bill 1086.
Senator Kafalis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I move Amendment L025.
The amendment.
Thank you, colleagues. This is an amendment that was actually, I believe it was approved in the committee where we heard this bill, and essentially it would add on page 2, line 20, it would add teachers in terms of the criteria that the community college system must look at when they're doing a cost-benefit analysis. So we're just trying to make sure that if we're going to be paying people to teach nursing courses, that we're taking that into consideration when we determine whether or not a community college should be approved for a four-year Bachelor of Science nursing program. I urge your support of this amendment. Thank you.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, colleagues, when we run a bill, we try to keep it as clean as possible, and we heard this in committee. This is sort of a mission creep into the bill. This bill is not about how people are, how they're paid, that type of thing. Community colleges have their own unique programs that are available. They attract certain individuals of high quality and high caliber, particularly in their nursing programs, by providing certain flexibilities that possibly four-year schools do not provide. I don't believe it's our job to dictate to them. They do a very good job, and they do an efficient delivery. I would urge a no vote.
Senator Kafalis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the conversation. I don't necessarily see this as, quote, mission creep. I'm looking at some information about the nursing faculty shortage and how a lot of teachers who are teaching nursing courses, they're not paid adequately. And I think if we want to continue to encourage quality education in nursing to address the nursing shortage, we need to at least have as one of the criterion to consider how are we going to pay teachers what they need to be paid in order to teach four-year nursing programs. So I think it's a relevant amendment, and I would like you to consider it.
Any further discussion on L025? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of L025. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Noes have it, and L025 is lost. Any further discussion on House Bill 1086? Senator Martinez-Huminick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, L022 actually did help because the process was not gone through thoroughly. All of the people that were involved, the stakeholders, were not at the table when this bill was being drafted and during the whole course of the conversation. And what kept being brought up, I just want to let you know, was Senate Bill 17297, the performance, accountability, and transparency of the JBC bill that was brought last year. That was drafted and passed to increase transparency around Colorado's higher education master plan goals, share how our public institutions were contributing to those goals, and feed a web-based dashboard articulating those goals and progress for public and policymakers. This waiver of programmatic approval began with the implementation of performance contracts over a decade ago and was captured in Addendum B of these contracts. Institutions seeking to provide programs outside of their lane and course of study must still seek higher education approval. So what the community colleges are trying to do with the change in this law is they want to go and have the approval with their board originally, and with L022, the board shall provide such information to the Colorado Commission on Higher Ed to solicit the Commission's input in a joint meeting of the board and commission. Again, they are changing their role and mission from what we have in statute that concerns two-year institutions to provide four-year programs. They can be approved. And I am all in favor of having four-year nursing programs at our community colleges. But I do not believe that they're going to be able to keep their tuition down, as they're saying, for a long time, simply because they're going to have a problem finding the instructors to be able to teach in these programs. And we've already heard that. Included in Senate Bill 17297 is a provision eliminating statute to codify that institutions acting within their lane and courses of programmatic offerings, their role and their mission, two-year institutions offering certificates and associate degrees, four-year institutions offering baccalaureate degrees and beyond, doesn't need the higher education approval for such programs. However, if you're a community college and your role and mission is for two-year programs, they are an institution now seeking to provide programs outside of that lane, and that must still require that higher ed approval. So providing a four-year degree at a community college is definitely outside of their two-year role and mission, as is stated in statute. So therefore, if a two-year institution wants to provide such a program, that's great. It still should be going through higher education, and while L022 addresses part of that, it says that the board shall provide information, and so there is a guardrail there. However, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that this is definitely changing how community colleges operate with four-year degree programs. And again, I want to emphasize, I have been a long-term supporter of community colleges and the programs that they offer, because they fill a niche that our four-year institutions up to this point have not. So I am in favor of having a four-year program, but I do believe they still need to be under the purview. All of our four-year programs, there needs to be accountability, transparency, and equity in how they are handled.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1086? Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, we had a very vibrant discussion in committee on this bill. And one of the things that definitely came up when we start talking about the scope and the ability of the Colorado Committee on Higher Education to approve or disapprove different degrees. Many of you might remember Senate Bill 17-297 from last year. Of course, I can't name who was on the bill, but a number of you might have been. It was a good bill. Section 23.1.107 of statute basically says this: duties and powers of the Commission with respect to program approval, review, reduction, and discontinuance. This changed that statute last year, and it said, a governing board of a state-supported institution of higher education is not required to submit a proposal to or obtain approval from the Commission to create, modify, or discontinue academic or vocational programs offered by the institution, so long as the creation, modification, or discontinuance of the academic or vocational program is consistent with the institution's statutory role and mission. Let me explain, colleagues. We are taking a look at House Bill 1086, and we are addressing the role of nursing in the community colleges to offer greater opportunity and career choice for nursing students. That is that piece. This piece actually says, well, CCHE isn't doing that at that point for any of the universities. So when we start talking about that, why would we want to do that for just the community colleges? Parity? I don't think so. Mr. Chair, I don't think we have an amendment on the desk, so I renew my, my urging this group to support House Bill 1086 with a positive vote on second reading.
We do not have an amendment on the desk, but Senator Zinzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to speak to our last speaker's comments about Senate Bill 17-297. In fact, the section that he's quoting from that bill is true. However, the context for that bill is not in alignment with the argument. That bill was designed around transparency around performance, and it was to create a dashboard on meeting goals. And this line from that bill granted flexibility in some areas not to hold them back from having to do that dashboard, but it absolutely did not grant community colleges an exception from being required to go through CCHE. I'll read it again. It says that a governing board of a state-supported institution of higher ed is not required to submit a proposal or obtain approval from the commission to create, modify, or discontinue an academic or vocational program so long as the creation, modification, or discontinuance of the academic or vocational program is consistent with the institution's statutory role and mission. And that's what's at issue here, is that the community colleges are 2-year degree programs, and this is a 4-year degree. So absolutely, we need to be able to go through, work with CCHE, because we are not staying in our lane here. That doesn't mean that it's not a good idea, that I don't support the idea, that I don't believe that we do have a nursing shortage, and I think that we're trying to find some creative solutions for solving that. But I absolutely believe that we need to stay within the purview of the law, which is if you're offering a 4-year degree program, then you probably should be working with the 4-year degree body that looks at that with a bigger picture throughout the state. For example, Senate Bill 10-101 allowed the CMC, the Colorado Mountain College, to offer up to 5 baccalaureate degrees, but they had to go through CCHE. There was a bill, 14-004, that granted a 2-year role and mission, a few exceptions, and in that bill we granted an exception. We granted it to Ames and CC to do Bachelor of Arts, but they had to go through CCHE. So we've done this before. I think it's a good idea. I think that we should be able to look creatively at these solutions and to say, in this context, we feel that it's appropriate that the community colleges allow this 4-year degree program to go through, but providing that we do it the right way. Why would we make an exception for this one degree program when all of the others that have had exceptions to it have had to go through CCHE? By the way, there have been 6 requests in the history of this, and all 6 requests have been approved by CCHE. So I don't understand what the hesitancy is in order to go through them for approval. It is my understanding that there is an amendment that is coming that will address my concerns, and so I would be very supportive, and I look forward to hearing that amendment because I think it's a critical piece of going forward with this plan.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, I think this is obviously a bigger discussion that needs to be had beyond House Bill 1086, but at this point, I'd ask for your support for House Bill 1086.
Is there Senator Kagan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm going to be a no on House Bill 1086, but I'm rising not because I cherish the fond hope that I will persuade numbers of you in sufficient numbers to vote no with me, but just to make clear that those of us and those of my constituents who oppose 1086 do not oppose 1086 because they want to protect their turf, as has been very unfortunately alleged, or do not oppose 1086 because they believe that community colleges are inferior and that those who go to community colleges are inferior, as has been unfortunately stated. Some of those who have come to me and stated their opposition to House Bill 1086 are people who have devoted their entire lives to helping people prepare for the nursing profession and are passionately interested in the quality of the nurses that we create in the state of Colorado. That has been their entire life's work. And what they have persuaded me is that rather than losing turf or allowing people to graduate from inferior institutions, their concern is simply this: House Bill 1086 will not relieve the nursing shortage. It looks like it might, but if you look at it in detail, it will not. And at the same time, it threatens the mission of those four-year institutions that are doing a good job, but not in sufficient numbers, of relieving the shortage of highly skilled, highly qualified bachelors of nursing. And I wish that we would look at the record of those who are in opposition to this bill in their steadfast determination to help nursing improve, and they have devoted their lives to that, and not claim, as I think has wrongly been claimed, that there is some disparagement of community colleges or people that go there, or the quality of the education that they very ably provide. That is not the issue. The issue is, will 1086 increase the supply of bachelors of nursing? And many of us believe that it will not. It appears that it might, but it will not. And so let's not go down a path that will not achieve its objectives, but does threaten to, in some ways, make the existing mission of the four-year colleges less effective and more difficult by competing for scarce faculty and offering those scarce faculty lower salaries in a different context. So I'm a no on 1086, but I really am rising specifically to say why it is that those of us who oppose it oppose it. It is not out of disparagement of the community college, and it is not out of disparagement of those who go to community colleges, and it is not out of a lack of desire to see the nursing shortage relieved, and it is not born of a belief that if we can provide less expensive education, we should. We just don't believe that 1086 will achieve those objectives. And that's why I'm a no vote.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I have a different view as it relates to House Bill 1086. I believe it will help us address the shortages of nurses in the state of Colorado. I believe that it will have a significant impact on healthcare outcomes in the state of Colorado if we have more nurses available. Now, there are strict requirements before community college can even get this program at their universities. I'm going to cite what they are. First of all, the State Board of Community College and Occupational Education has to approve it. There has to be regional accreditation. The Colorado Board of Nursing, BON, interim approval and national accreditation has to be approved. The Colorado Board of Nursing, full approval, National Accreditation Board must be approved. So there's 4 specific criteria that has to be met before a program can be incorporated into a community college system. This bill is good for Colorado, it's good for healthcare access, and it's good for healthcare outcomes. please vote yes on House Bill 1086.
Any further discussion on 1086? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1086. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and 1086 is adopted. Senator Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over Senate Bill 166 till Monday, March 5th.
The motion for the body is to lay over Senate Bill 166 till Monday, March 5th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and Senate Bill 166 will be laid over till March 5th. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 146?
Senate Bill 146 by Senators Gonzalez and Smallwood and Representative Tyson Singer concerning a requirement that a freestanding emergency department inform a person who is seeking medical treatment about the healthcare options that are available to the person.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 146 and the Health and Human Services and Appropriations Committee reports.
Do the committee reports.
The Health and Human Services Committee report basically made some changes to accommodate concerns raised by the various stakeholders. In particular, we wanted to make sure that with some of the disclosure provisions, we were not putting hospitals and freestanding emergency departments at risk of any federal violations, and we clarified some language. That is the essence of House Bill, of the HHS Committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the Health and Human Services Committee report? All those in favor of the report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the Health and Human Services Committee report is adopted. To the Appropriations, Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Appropriations Committee, we simply added an appropriations clause in the amount of $34,725 cash funds.
Is there any further discussion on Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the motion from the body is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Appropriations Committee report is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read L006?
Amendment L006.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues. We're asking for your support on Amendment 6. After the Health and Human Services Committee met, there were some colleagues of ours that had wanted some additional changes, so we made a few but important changes to the bill with Amendment L006. We wanted to clarify the title of the patient information notice that's given to the patients. We wanted to make sure to appease the stakeholders that we removed the word admission, because again, we're talking about freestanding emergency departments, not hospitals, so admission was a word that they had concern with. We wanted to make sure that we're incorporating a couple of phrases like stabilization instead of the words that were in the previous bill. Additionally, we wanted to remove the word non-emergency. There were some stakeholders that were concerned that having the word non-emergency in those medical conditions might open up some, I guess, potential misunderstanding of what those patients went into the facility for and might cause them to have payments denied at some point. So we were trying to accommodate, my colleague and I were trying to accommodate as many stakeholders as we possibly could and ask for your support on Amendment 6.
Senator Smallwood, would you please move Amendment L006?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment 6.
Any further discussion on L006? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of L006. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and L006 is adopted. To the bill, Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, thank you for your attention. Basically, Senate Bill 146 is about making sure that when healthcare consumers go to freestanding emergency departments, that they have the necessary information so they can make informed decisions. And secondly, we are trying to address one of the cost drivers. When people go to a freestanding emergency department to get treatment for a sore throat and they wind up getting a much higher medical bill, that drives costs for all of us. And that's what this bill is trying to address.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 146? Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, I want to encourage you to vote for this bill. It has been 3 or 4 years in the making, and I want to commend both of these colleagues for their strong work. We needed to weave the fine line between making sure that everyone felt safe coming to an emergency room, not knowing if they had an emergency or not, but once it was determined they did not have an emergency, that they were given the opportunity to avoid the excessive bill that they might otherwise get. And I thank my colleagues for the work on this bill.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was a no vote in committee, but I will be, thanks to the sponsors, a yes vote on the bill. I appreciate their ability to bring forth the amendments that I was questioning on this. And I think that I thought I would explain that, but I will be a yes vote and supportive of this bill. Thank you.
Senator Martinez-Humanic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also had concerns, colleagues, and I'm glad that this amendment was brought forward, so I urge an aye vote on this bill.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 146? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 146. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 146 is adopted. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over the balance of the second reading, General Order second reading of bills calendar until Monday, March 5th.
The motion before the body is to lay over the balance of second reading calendar to Monday, March 5th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. And the balance of the bills on second reading will be laid over till March 5th. Senate Majority Leader Holbert.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion for the body is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
Senate will come back to order. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee to hold begs lead reports out on consideration the following attached bills being the second read thereof makes the following recommendations to Senate Bill 146 is amended past the second read order and gross placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1086 is amended past the second read order and revised placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 166, Senate Bill 132, Senate Bill 71, Senate Bill 70, Senate Bill 97 laid over until 3/5/18 retaining their place on the calendar.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
You have heard the motion. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the report is adopted. Senate Bill 146 is amended, passed on second reading, ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1086 is amended, passed on second reading, ordered, and revised, placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 166, Senate Bill 132, Senate Bill 071, Senate Bill 70, Senate Bill 97 laid over until March 5th, 2018 and retaining their place on the calendar. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay over the first consideration of governor's appointment consent calendar listing the executive director of the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing to Monday, March 5th.
You heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. That appointment will be laid over. Mr. Carpenter, please read the consideration of governor's appointments for consent calendar.
Members of the Colorado Board of Veterans Affairs for term expiring June 30th, 2020, Norman Easteen of Woodland Park, Colorado, Republican veteran who has been honorably released or separated from the armed forces of the United States occasioned by the resignation of Robert Francis McLaughlin of Colorado Springs, Colorado, appointed effective June 30, 2017 for a term expiring June 30th, 2021, Lacey Galanco of Castle Rock, Colorado, unaffiliated and veteran who has been honorably released or separated from the armed forces of the United States, appointed. Minnie Jack Rudder of Alamos, Colorado, serves as unaffiliated and a veteran who's been honorably released or separated from the armed forces of the United States, reappointed. Members of the Pinnacle Insurance Board of Directors for terms expiring January 1st, 2024. Brad Robert Busey of Denver, Colorado, serves as an employee whose liability is insured by Pinnacle, appointed. Fiona Elizabeth Arnold of Denver, Colorado, serves as an employer whose liability is insured by Pinnacle, appointed. Member of the Air Quality Control Commission for term expiring January 31st, 2020. Megan Elise Garvey of Denver, Colorado, serves as a person with appropriate scientific and technical experience and occasioned by the resignation of Jeffrey Todd Mitchell of Aspen, Colorado, appointed.
Mr. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move all of the remaining consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar appointments, including the members of the Colorado Board of Veterans Affairs, members of the Pinnacle Assurance Board of Directors, member of the Air Quality Control Commission.
You have indeed heard the motion for the confirmation of the listed and read members of the committees. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Norman S. Steen of Woodland Park, Lacey Galonka Castle Rock, Benny Jack Rutter of Alamosa are confirmed to the Colorado Board of Veteran Affairs. Brad Robert Bussey, Fiona Elizabeth Arnold are appointed as members of the Pinnacle Assurance Board of Directors, and Megan Ellis Garvey is appointed as the member of the Air Quality Control Commission. Consideration of governor's appointments not on the consent calendar. Mr. Carpenter.
Executive Director of the Department of Labor and Employment, effective pending confirmation by the Colorado Senate for a term expiring at the pleasure of the Governor. Samuel David Walker of Denver, Colorado, serves as Executive Director of the Department of Labor and Employment to fill the vacancy occasioned by the resignation of Ellen J. Golumbik of Denver, Colorado, appointed.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the appointment of Samuel David Walker of Denver, Colorado to serve as the Executive Director of the Department of Labor and Employment and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the confirmation of the Executive Director of the Department of Labor and Employment, Samuel Walker. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the confirmation of the Department of Labor and Employment Executive Director, Samuel David Walker, is confirmed. Signing of bills.
The President has signed Senate Bill 50 and 105. The President has signed Senate Joint Resolution 6.
Announcements. Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. President. I asked to be excused tomorrow. I've talked to both the Majority Leader and the Minority Leader.
Senator Kerr will indeed be excused tomorrow. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Colleagues, just wanted to make one quick introduction today. If you haven't brushed up on words to describe me, like honorable, intelligent, good man, my father is here today. And so if you need to go through the thesaurus and come up with great words, I would very much appreciate it. Also, to make sure there's no confusion around the Capitol, that is Jim Smallwood Sr. So if somebody's walking around saying that he's Jim Smallwood, just to allay any sort of confusion, my father did finally come visit me here at the Capitol. So.
Senator Court.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to mention that the words that my good colleague from Centennial suggested would not necessarily be the words I would suggest, but out of respect for the decorum of this body, I won't use those words.
Any other announcements? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate adjourn until 9 a.m. Friday, March 2nd.
Motion is to adjourn until 9 a.m. tomorrow, Friday, March 2nd. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We stand adjourned.